16, I had a fake ID made, and then I would just run down to the poker room and play poker.
Card gives him a straight flush draw, but if he makes the flush, he can't win.
She was never supposed to make it that far. Not into Bobby's room, not up against the game's legends, and definitely not coming out on top. Her story started with a battle just to survive. 2 kidney transplants, crushing financial setbacks, and heartbreak at home long before she ever touched a high-stakes table. But against all odds, she fought her way out of smoky backroom games and into the biggest poker arenas in the world. The pros called her the Maneater, not because she was flashy, but because she quietly took down the giants. And the craziest part, she once won a tournament in a game she'd never even played before. This is the story of the poker icon who beat death and then beat everyone else. Born in Reno in 1964, Jennifer Harman grew up immersed in poker culture. At 8, she began sneaking into her father's weekly home games, studying the action until he reluctantly taught her. By 12, she was taking his seat when he struggled. Her mother reinforced these lessons, dealing family games with strict rules, while fostering a competitive spirit through board games like Scrabble and Monopoly. This early exposure ignited Jennifer's lifelong passion for strategic competition and set the foundation for her poker mastery. Behind the scenes, though, Jennifer was facing some serious health challenges. From a young age, she struggled with kidney problems and needed a transplant early in life. That experience gave her a new outlook, one that focused on living in the moment and making the most out of every day. And she did just that. As a teenager, her passion for poker only grew stronger. So strong, in fact, that she got a fake ID at 16, just so she could sneak into casinos and test her skills at real tables. She kept it all under wraps from her family, but she was already on her way to becoming something special. Online poker didn't exist yet, so those smoky casino rooms were her only path, and she wasn't about to let anything stop her. But life threw her a devastating curveball. Just as she was starting to find her rhythm at the tables, her mom's health took a serious turn. Like Jennifer, she had kidney issues and eventually needed dialysis. With their dad always working, it was up to Jennifer and her sister to step in and care for her. Tragically, their mom passed away when Jennifer was just 17. It was a devastating blow. She wasn't just a parent, she was Jennifer's rock, her guide, her biggest cheerleader. To cope with the pain, Jennifer turned to the one thing she knew best: poker. Night after night, she'd sneak into casinos underage, not just chasing wins, but trying to outrun everything else. And somehow, she was never caught. Instead, she just kept getting better. After high school, she stayed close to home and enrolled at the University of Nevada to study biology. But it wasn't all textbooks and lab reports. She also picked up a few part-time cocktail waitressing gigs. The real reason? The poker room just steps away. She'd keep one eye on the action during her shift, and the moment she clocked out, she'd head straight to the tables, turning tip money into buy-ins. For Jennifer, poker wasn't some casual escape. It was a full-on obsession. She didn't just play. She studied, analyzed, and sharpened her game like someone who already knew this was her calling. Even with a college degree in her back pocket, she knew the 9-to-5 life wasn't for her. So she packed her bags, left Reno behind, and headed to Los Angeles. She took a bartending job at a hotel to pay the bills, but that plan didn't last long. Just a few days in, a friend told her about the serious poker action happening at the Bicycle Casino. Jennifer went to check it out, and that was all it took. After just 5 days behind the bar, she quit to play poker full-time. At first, she thought of poker as a wild adventure, not necessarily a career. But not everyone was on board. Her dad, who was actually the one who first taught her the game, wasn't too happy about her chasing cards for a living. Their relationship grew tense as Jennifer doubled down on her poker dreams. After grinding in LA for 2 years, she hit pause on poker and took a gamble on something else, her own business. She stepped away from the game for an entire year, betting on herself in a new way. Then, life shifted again. She fell in love. That led to a move to the East Coast with her boyfriend and another business venture. But this time, things didn't go as planned. The business flopped, and Jennifer found herself in serious debt. Backed into a corner, she turned to the one thing that had always made sense: poker. With a little financial help from her grandmother, she packed up and headed to Las Vegas. No backup plan, nothing to fall back on. Just her and the game. This time, she was all in. You see, Jennifer always believed that if you wanted to become a truly great poker player, you had to earn your stripes in Las Vegas, the city where only the toughest survive. But even with that mindset, for years, she stayed in the mid-limit territory, hovering around the 30-60 and 50-100 games. It wasn't until she had both the confidence of a seasoned veteran and a solid bankroll that she made the leap into the real high-stakes action. $75 per $150, $200 per $400, and beyond. Everything started clicking. Harman was on fire, winning consistently and building up a serious bankroll. By 1993, she was crushing $150 to $300 and $300 to $600 limit hold'em games, stacking up nearly $700,000. For a while, it seemed like she had finally hit her stride. But then, life had other plans. After going through a divorce, she lost almost all the money she'd worked so hard to build. Just like that, she was down to $70,000. A dangerously thin safety net for someone playing at nosebleed stakes. Still, Harman wasn't about to back down. She refused to drop to lower limits and kept sitting in games that were way too big for her bankroll. Before long, she was walking a tightrope, one bad session away from going broke. That's when a friend stepped in and lent her $45,000, a lifeline, with grit, patience, and the kind of determination that only comes from being down and almost out. She slowly ground her way back. Not only did she recover, but she returned stronger than ever, once again battling in the biggest games on the strip. While Harman was thriving in cash games, she started dipping her toes into the tournament scene in the mid-90s. Her first notable showing came in 1994 at the Queen's Poker Classic in Vegas, where she finished 8th out of 316 players in a $500 limit hold'em event, earning just over $3,000. A modest cash, sure, but it was the spark that lit the fire. The following year, she made a splash at the World Series of Poker with a 6th place finish in the $2,500 pot limit hold'em event. And by 1997, she was absolutely owning the $400, $800 cash games. These weren't your standard hold'em tables either. They rotated between 7-card stud, Omaha, and other variants, forcing Harman to sharpen her skills across the board. She crushed those games for an entire year, then steadily climbed the ladder to $800 per $1,600 and even $1,000 per $2,000. Along the way, she racked up wins at big-name events like the Commerce Casino's No Limit Hold'em Championship and the Orleans Open Limit Hold'em Tournament. But the real breakthrough came in 2000. Harman entered the 5,000 plus 100 No Limit Deuce to 7-draw event at the WSOP, a game she had literally never played before. Minutes before the tournament started, Howard Lederer gave her a quick crash course and a cheat sheet of hands to play. That's it. And somehow, she not only held her own, but beat out legends like Lyle Berman and Steve Zolotow to win the bracelet and $146,250. 2 years later, in 2002, she did it again. This time, it was at the $5,000 limit hold'em event. She faced a loaded final table featuring pros like Mimi Tran, Humberto Bernays, and Alan Cunningham, and came out on top, securing her second WSOP bracelet. What made this win even more historic was that Harman became the first woman ever to win 2 open WSOP events. Not just the ladies-only tournaments, but the real open to anyone championships. But just as her legacy was taking shape, life hit pause. In 2004, Jennifer Harman was forced to take a break from poker, not by choice, but by necessity. Her kidneys, which had been an issue for years, flared up again, and this time she needed a second transplant. So, she stepped away from the felt and dedicated the year to her health and recovery. But even while she was sidelined, something shifted. Her personal struggles sparked a new sense of purpose. After all, both she and her mom had battled kidney disease, so she knew firsthand how tough it could be. That's what inspired her to start a nonprofit called Creating Organ Donation Awareness, or CODA. Through CODA, she began raising money and awareness for organ donation, turning her health challenges into a mission to make a difference. When she returned to the tables, it wasn't just a quiet comeback, it was a statement. She landed 4th place at the WPT 5 Diamond World Poker Classic and followed that up with a 5th place finish at the inaugural professional poker tour event. And just a year later, she lit up the Rio Las Vegas Poker Festival, finishing second in a 2005 WSOP circuit main event and pocketing a massive $383,840, her biggest tournament score ever.
But her true legend wasn't just built in tournaments. It was forged night after night in the most elite cash game on the planet, Bobby's Room at the Bellagio. This wasn't just any poker room. This was the arena where the game's giants played, with buy-ins often exceeding $200,000. And right there, holding her own against the game's elite, was Jennifer Harman. What made her stand out wasn't just her skill. It was the fact that she was the only woman to ever be a regular in that high-stakes battlefield. Around the table, Barry Greenstein gave her a nickname that stuck: the Maneater. And it fit. She was a staple in what players call the big game, sitting alongside legends like Doyle Brunson, Chip Reese, Phil Ivey, and Daniel Negreanu. In those games, the stakes were jaw-dropping. Limits of $3,000, $6,000, and swings that could hit $500,000 in a single night. She once admitted that, despite the millions that passed through her hands, she was probably the poorest person at the table. But that never stopped her from showing up and winning against the best. By doing that, she didn't just earn respect, she secured her spot in poker's inner circle. So, when billionaire banker Andy Beal stormed into Vegas in the early 2000s, throwing down outrageous limit hold'em challenges with jaw-dropping stakes, of course Harman was right there in the thick of it. Now, Beal wasn't your average poker tourist. He had money, serious money, from banking and real estate. But what he lacked in poker experience, he made up for in ambition. He wasn't just there to gamble. He was there to beat the best. His strategy? Study hard, raise the stakes sky high, and push poker legends so far out of their comfort zones that they'd start to crack. The pros weren't having it. Instead of going in solo, they formed an alliance known as the Corporation. It was like poker's version of the Avengers, with the biggest names in the game pooling their bankrolls to take Beal on as a team. Jennifer Harman, Phil Ivey, Doyle Brunson, Todd Brunson, Ted Forrest, Min Lee, Howard Lederer, Chip Reese, David Gray, Gus Hansen, Barry Greenstein, and Lyle Berman. This crew came armed with decades of experience and millions of dollars to match. The stakes? Absolutely mind-blowing. What started as 10K, 20K blinds quickly soared to $100 to $200. Harman later recalled how surreal it all felt. No one had ever played that high before. But poker players are nothing if not adaptable. And somehow, those sky-high numbers started to feel almost normal. But it wasn't just about the money. Harman admitted the real pressure came from knowing the whole group was counting on her. She wasn't just playing her cards. She was carrying the weight of the corporation on her shoulders. And that kind of stress, that legendary run in Bobby's Room, didn't just add to Harman's bankroll. It earned her the respect of the game's godfathers. Doyle Brunson personally tapped her to write the chapter on Limit Hold'em in Super System 2, the sequel to his iconic 1978 strategy book. And Brunson didn't hold back with the compliments, calling her not only the best all-around female player alive, but one of the best players in the world, period. And she kept proving him right. In 2007, she won Poker After Dark's Killer Table and took home $120,000. That same year, she nearly won the Winsoap 2,500-pound horse event, cashing out with over 81,000 pounds. Then in 2008, she finished third in the WPT $9,600 No Limit Hold'em Championship, taking home a solid $330,000. By the time 2015 rolled around, Harman's resume was undeniable, with over $2.7 million in live tournament earnings, not to mention millions more from private cash games. She was finally inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame. After years of being a finalist, it was her moment. She called it an unbelievable honor, saying the recognition felt like the reward for a lifetime of grinding and sacrifice. Even after that milestone, she kept showing up. She cashed 3 times at the World Series of Poker in 2019 and added another cash during the first ever WSOP Online series, By 2021, her dub soap cashes alone had earned her over $1.5 million. But here's the thing. While her tournament results are solid, Jennifer Harman's real legacy was written in the high-stakes back rooms, under the glare of Bobby's room lights, and in those make-or-break moments where millions could hinge on a single hand. She went from slinging cocktails and sneaking peeks at cards in Reno to locking horns with legends and taking on billionaires. Through brutal financial swings, major health scares, and countless hours grinding at the tables, she didn't just survive. She earned her place as one of poker's most respected and battle-tested icons.